how does the pronouns list go? Okay, I'm just gonna do that. He, him. That's okay. My name is Dakota Fee. I'm a first year at OSU, and I'm 19 years old, and I go by he and him. You know, I was raised to be, a boy and act like a typical boy, just based on what my parents thought, what my dad thought, and it wasn't ever given any thought as to like any other option, but I never felt uncomfortable with it. I've always been very secure, I guess. So if someone called me a girl, it's like, oh, that's not insulting, because I'm a guy, like that's who I am, and that's who I know I am. So I felt like growing up with my parents, kind of the way that they taught us was like, they'd give us the tools, and then we'd use those ourselves. And like I feel like a lot of my childhood I just spent outside with my brothers, like running around all day, and so everything that defined and what I thought I was and who I am kind of came from like being with my brothers and figuring out for myself, like that I do like to play with like action figures and like what would be typical boy stuff at the time. The only real phase I went through was probably 8th grade, like middle school, when I started to become less of a boy and started growing up. I felt like I had to constantly prove myself. This was never like a conscious thought of mine, but like more of a feeling, like, oh, I have to show like I can do this because I'm a guy, and I have to be the strong, capable person. And so it kind of became a competitive thing, but it's chilled out and calmed down as I've gotten older. And I work in daycare, and I see none of the parents forcing any clothes or any like backpacks on them. It's like if it's a kid's favorite show, even if it's like this pink like Barbie show, like their kid's gonna have that backpack on because they love it so much. And a lot of these parents, I feel like, mind it less than my parents would have, or my neighbor's parents would have when I was younger. I feel like a lot of the times when I see my kids at the preschool wanting to do anything girly or paint their nails or something, parents are more likely to be okay with it nowadays. And I feel like it helps specifically for my preschool, because a lot of the parents there are they work for the college, and so they're very well educated, and that can make a difference in the way that they raise their kids compared to the people that I was raised with, because my parents are not educated, and neither were my neighbors or my friends from a lot of them in my childhood. And so that I feel like plays a role in that. It's all subsectioned now. A lot of the media is what you want to see, and so if you want to see like very gender biased, in certain directions, you're gonna see it. I mean, that's how Pinterest, that's how Instagram works. It shows you what you want to see or what you search for. And so if you're like a Republican, like a conservative on Facebook, all you're gonna see is like really, not typical gender rolled media, a lot of white people, or you're gonna see like the bad aspects of like transgender news or something. But if you're on the other side, you know, you're gonna see a lot more just like news about transgender equality itself, like that just shows up more based on what you want to see. So that's, you know, in media it's all about. Violence based on gender. I think gender violence would be violence acted upon someone based on their gender. I live in a pretty productive bubble in Corvallis, in a college town. Any violence I've ever seen, any like insults that have been thrown because of gender are rare and far between, and usually apprehended by either the school system or people around. I guess, you know, there's always like, I remember in high school there was this group of people and they're like, they wear cowboy boots and have big trucks and they have fake southern accents, and you'd hear those people be pretty orally violent towards gender people, or people who are different in their gender and what their gender opinions, but it was never to their face. So you don't see anyone ever be like, oh, you're a girl, so, I mean, there's always the jokes like, oh, you're not gonna throw as far because you're a girl, which is, I wouldn't consider that violence, but I wouldn't consider that's not like a very good joke. It's still, it can still be hurtful or incorrect, but violence is not something I've really seen based on gender at all. Well, you always see in the news like domestic abuse, but you see it both ways. You see a girl hitting a guy or a guy hitting a girl, but then you also see in the news things like a transgender being killed or beaten by someone. I guess I have seen that.